Let me ask you something before I say another word. Have you ever walked out of a conversation shaking? Not because someone hit you, not because someone yelled at you, but because someone said something so illogical, so arrogant, so breathtakingly stupid that your own intelligence felt like a curse. You went home. You replayed it in your head 10 times. You thought of 11 comebacks you should have said. You lost your sleep over a person who probably forgot about the conversation the moment it ended. If that has ever happened to you, good. Stay with me. Because in the next few minutes, I am going to change the way you see stupidity forever. Not the way you see stupid people, the way you see the entire game they are playing without even knowing it. My name doesn't matter right now. What matters is this. I have spent years studying power, psychology, and the quiet architecture of the human mind. And if there is one lesson that separates the people who rise from the people who burn out arguing with fools on the internet at 2 a.m., it is this one lesson. Intelligent people do not fight stupidity. They outthink it. Sit with that sentence, because everything I am about to tell you flows from it. The trap every smart person falls into. Here is the cruel irony of being intelligent. The smarter you are, the more stupidity offends you. You see it clearly. You see the flaw in their logic before they even finish the sentence. You see the ego dressed up as confidence. You see the ignorance wrapped in loud certainty. And something inside you, something proud, something wounded, something desperate to be understood, wants to correct them, wants to expose them, wants to win. And that, my friend, is the first trap. Because the moment you step into the ring with a fool, you have already lost. Not because they are stronger, not because they are smarter, but because they are playing a different game than you. A game with no rules, no logic, and no finish line. You are trying to win a chess match. They are flipping the board. I learned this the hard way. Years ago, I was younger, hungrier, far more arrogant than I am now. I believed that intelligence was a weapon, and I used it exactly like one. Every conversation was a battlefield. Every disagreement was a war I had to win. I corrected people in meetings. I humiliated people in arguments. I proved, again and again, how right I was. And you know what it got me? Enemies, exhaustion, and a very lonely kind of pride. It took me years to understand the truth that changed everything. Being right is not the same as being wise. Why fighting stupidity is a losing game. Let me tell you why arguing with a fool is one of the most exhausting things a human being can do. A fool does not argue from logic. A fool argues from ego. And you cannot defeat ego with facts because ego was never built on facts in the first place. Think about it. Have you ever won an argument, truly won it, with airtight logic, undeniable evidence, flawless reasoning, and watched the other person simply shift the goalposts, change the subject, get louder, get angrier, bring up something completely unrelated from 3 years ago? That is not stupidity failing. That is stupidity defending itself, the only way it knows how. There is an old truth, and I want you to remember it for the rest of your life. Never argue with a fool. Onlookers may not be able to tell the difference. Read that again. When you argue with someone who has no interest in truth, no respect for logic, and no desire to grow, you do not elevate the conversation to your level. You drag yourself down to theirs. And from a distance, to everyone watching, you look exactly the same as they do. Two people yelling, red-faced, desperate to be right. Is that really the image you want the world to have of you? Is that really where you want to spend your one precious, limited energy? No, of course not. So what do intelligent people do instead? Let me give you the real answer. Not cliches, not fortune cookie wisdom. The real, practical, battle-tested principles that separate the wise from the wounded. Principle 1. I choose my battles like I choose my life. I used to think every stupid comment deserved a response. Every wrong opinion deserved correction. Every insult deserved a comeback. Now I understand something different. My attention is the most valuable currency I own. Every single time I respond to nonsense, I am making a decision, whether I realize it or not, that this moment, this person, this pointless exchange deserves a piece of my one and only life. And when you start counting your hours that way, you become terrifyingly selective about where you spend them. So now, before I respond to anything foolish, I ask myself one question. Will this conversation change anything, or will it only drain me? If the answer is drain, I walk away. Not because I am weak, not because I am afraid, but because I refuse to pay for something with no return. Silence, my friend, is not surrender. Silence is often the most powerful response you can give a fool, because it denies them the one thing they are truly hunting for, your reaction. Principle 2. I never explain myself to people who are committed to misunderstanding me. Here is something that took me far too long to learn. Some people do not misunderstand you by accident. They misunderstand you on purpose. Because misunderstanding you gives them a reason to feel superior, or a reason to feel offended, or a reason to avoid facing an uncomfortable truth. You can explain yourself 1,000 different ways, with 1,000 different examples, using the simplest words in the human language, and it will not matter. Because the problem was never your clarity. The problem is their refuser. I stopped explaining myself to people like that, and it was one of the most liberating decisions of my life. You do not owe endless explanations to someone who has already decided not to listen. You are not obligated to keep knocking on a door that someone is holding shut from the inside. Say your truth once, clearly and calmly. If they choose not to receive it, that is now their burden to carry, not yours. Principle 3. I let their behavior reveal them, not provoke me. There is a powerful shift that happens the moment you stop taking stupidity personally. When someone behaves foolishly toward you, mocking you, dismissing you, talking down to you, your instinct is to feel small, to feel disrespected, to feel the heat rising in your chest. But here is what I want you to understand. Their behavior is not information about you. It is information about them. A person who needs to belittle others to feel powerful is telling you loudly and clearly about their own insecurity. A person who cannot handle being wrong is telling you about their own fragile self-image. A person who resorts to insults instead of arguments is telling you they have run out of arguments. Every time someone acts the fool, they are handing you a piece of information for free. Take it, learn who they are, and adjust your expectations accordingly. Once I started seeing it this way, I stopped getting hurt by foolish behavior. I started getting informed by it. Principle 4. I respond with calm, because calm is power. Have you ever noticed that the angrier someone gets, the weaker their argument sounds? Anger is often what fills the space where logic used to be. And here is the secret intelligent people understand. The calmer you remain, the more powerful you appear, and the more unstable the other person looks by comparison. This is not a trick. This is not manipulation. This is simply what happens when one person operates from a place of emotional control and the other operates from a place of emotional chaos. So when someone tries to provoke you, when they raise their voice, twist your words, or try to bait you into a shouting match, do the opposite of what they expect. Lower your voice, slow your speech. Ask a calm question instead of firing back an angry statement. Watch what happens. The room notices. The room always notices who stayed composed and who lost control. Principle 5. I protect my peace like it is sacred, because it is. Let me tell you something that most people never say out loud. Your peace of mind is not a luxury. It is not something you deserve only after you have proven yourself or won every argument or silenced every critic. Your peace is a right, and every single day, people, knowingly or unknowingly, will try to steal it from you. Foolish people are exceptionally good at stealing peace. A careless comment can ruin your morning. A rude stranger can ruin your evening. An arrogant coworker can ruin your entire week if you let them. I made a decision years ago that changed my life more than any promotion, any achievement, any award ever did. I decided that no person, regardless of how loud, how rude, or how confident they are in their own ignorance, gets to rent space in my mind for free. If they want to be upset, let them be upset alone. I am not obligated to join them in their storm. Principle 6. I remember that correcting everyone is not my job. There was a time in my life when I thought thought it was my duty to correct every wrong opinion I encountered. I thought silence in the face of ignorance was some kind of moral failure. I was wrong. You are not the designated teacher of the entire world. You are not required to fix every broken piece of logic you come across. Some people are not ready to learn. Some people do not want to grow. And forcing wisdom onto someone who isn't asking for it is like pouring water into a cup that is already turned upside down. Let people be wrong sometimes. Let them learn through their own consequences, in their own time, in their own way. That is not coldness. That is respect for the natural process of growth, a process that cannot be rushed by your frustration. Principle 7. I use humor as my armor. Sometimes the wisest response to foolishness is not silence, and it is not a lecture. It is laughter. Not cruel laughter, not mockery, but the kind of light, easy humor that diffuses tension instantly and reminds everyone in the room, including you, that not everything deserves the weight of a serious battle. When you can smile at nonsense instead of raging at it, you take away its power completely. A joke can dissolve an insult. A light comment can end a pointless argument faster than any clever comeback ever could. Humor tells the world, I see what you're doing, and it doesn't touch me. Principle 8. I invest in rooms where I am understood. Here is something profoundly important that I want you to carry with you long after this speech ends. You cannot spend your entire life defending your intelligence in rooms that were never built to appreciate it. At some point, the wisest move is not to keep proving yourself to people who refuse to see you. It is to leave the room and go find the ones who already do. Surround yourself, as much as life allows, with people who think deeply, who listen honestly, who disagree respectfully. Those rooms exist. Those people exist. But you will never find them if you keep exhausting yourself in rooms full of noise. Your energy is too precious to keep spending on people who will never change. Redirect it toward people who will. The story that changed how I see all of this. Let me tell you a short story, because I think it will stay with you longer than any principle I have shared so far. There was a wise old teacher who lived at the edge of a small village. One day, a young man came to him, furious, practically shaking with anger. Someone insulted me today, the young man said. They called me a fool in front of everyone. I want to know how to destroy them with words. Teach me the sharpest insult, the cleverest comeback, so I can humiliate them the way they humiliated me. The old teacher looked at him calmly and said, if someone offers you a gift and you refuse to accept it, who does the gift belong to? The young man frowned. It stays with the person who offered it, I suppose. Exactly, said the teacher. Their insult was a gift, and you have not yet decided whether to accept it. The young man sat in silence for a long moment. Then, for the first time that day, his shoulders relaxed. That story has never left me, because it reveals the deepest truth about dealing with foolish people. You always have the power to refuse the gift they are trying to hand you. Their rudeness is a gift. Their arrogance is a gift. Their ignorance dressed up as confidence is a gift. And you alone, decide whether you pick it up and carry it home with you or leave it exactly where it was offered. I want you to understand something. This speech was never really about stupid people. It was about you. It was about your peace, your energy, your growth, your ability to walk through a world full of noise, ego, ignorance, and chaos and remain untouched, unshaken, and unbothered. Because here is the truth nobody tells you. The world will never run out of foolish people. There will always be someone louder than you, ruder than you, more arrogant than you, more determined to drag you into conflict than you could ever imagine. You cannot control that. You cannot fix that. You cannot argue your way out of that. But you can control this: how you respond, what you carry, what you allow to live rent-free in your mind, what battles you choose to fight, and which ones you simply let go. That, my friend, is not weakness. That is the highest form of intelligence there is. So the next time someone says something foolish to you, someone loud, someone arrogant, someone determined to pull you into their chaos, I want you to remember this moment. I want you to remember this speech. Do not fight fire with fire, because fire only spreads. Do not explain yourself to closed doors. Do not carry gifts you never asked to receive. Instead, breathe. Smile if you can. Choose your peace over your pride. Walk forward, calm and unshaken, while everyone else is busy burning energy on battles that were never worth fighting in the first place. Because that right there is how truly intelligent people deal with stupid people. Not with anger, not with arguments, not with the desperate need to be right, but with silence when silence is louder than words, with calm when chaos is screaming for a reaction, and with the quiet, unshakable confidence of someone who understands a truth most people never will. Your peace is more valuable than any argument you could ever win. Protect it, guard it, walk away when you must, and let the world be as loud as it wants to be, while you remain unmoved exactly where your power has always lived, within you.